Yeah, so it's coffee with Lita, but actually right now it's not coffee with Lita, it's Keto BHB with Lita. This is what I'm drinking right now. Today, well, this week, we're doing our 7-day macro tracking challenge. And I challenged myself that I am doing, it's like alternate day modified fasts. So the way I'm doing it, and it's a great thing I'm talking about this actually, because we're talking about doing keto your way, what works for you. And for me, I just wanted to push myself a little bit more. And I was doing OMAD for a while and doing really good with OMAD. And so I wanted to do alternate day fasting. So basically 48-hour fast and then dinner, and then 48-hour fast and dinner. But I'm altering mine to fit my lifestyle and what I like. And I really like having my, I call it my anti-aging shake. That's what I'm calling it now, because it really is. I feel like my skin is getting so good and my hair is getting so good. And I have that at lunch. So technically, by the letter of the law, it does break the fast a little bit, but my fasting windows between that are still very, very big, and it's just what I enjoy. So this is what I'm doing for myself this week. Oh, Deb says I'm drinking the same thing. Deb, you're having a Keto BHB? Yeah, it's really nice. I love to have, I have one mid-morning and one mid-afternoon. And honestly, I usually just like use half a scoop. I don't use the full scoop. I don't know about you guys, but it's quite strong. And I find that I feel just as energetic and everything on a half a scoop. So I usually just do a half a scoop and water it down. Sometimes I use mineral water, sometimes regular water. Yeah, so that's what I'm having now and enjoying it. So you guys, as you're coming on here, I wanted to ask you so that I can go back and look after once I get done my talk. So I like to answer your questions and stuff. But I would like to know from you guys, especially when you first started keto, did you find that there was just so much information out there? I mean, I find that there's two camps. There's either the I'm reading everything and I'm seeing all this information and I'm getting kind of confused, or I listened to this one person or I read this one thing and that's gospel and that's what I have to follow. I'm curious, like, let's just say when you first started, how were you feeling? Were you feeling like overwhelmed, so much information, not sure what to do? Or were you, well, I heard this one thing and I'm just going to follow that one thing and I'm just going to pretend that nothing else exists, or I didn't want to look at anything else because maybe it was overwhelming, or maybe you just thought that's for sure the only way that you could do it, so you just followed that. So I'm curious, either when you first started or now, like it doesn't really matter either way. Oh, Annette says, yes, it's overwhelming. So even right now you find that it's overwhelming. I can say for myself that I sure felt that it was overwhelming at the beginning for me. I now have a totally different take on it than I did at the beginning, but that comes from experience, and we're going to talk about that today. And I'm hoping, that's why I really wanted to help you guys with this, because I know that there is a plethora of information out there, like so much information, and it can be super confusing, and you feel like damned if you do, damned if you don't. You don't know if you're doing it the right way. You hear this or the other. So how do you differentiate between all this information? So I want to go back here. Somebody said something. Oh, Carrie Ann, -20 here in Ontario when I got up, -1 now. Ooh, that's like sun tanning weather now, hey? In Ontario, it's like, oh yeah, if it's almost zero, we're almost sun tanning if the sun is out. Deb says she loves the taste and it helps her drink her water. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could even, if you really wanted to, you could dilute it even more and like drink it all day if you wanted to. I just kind of divide it up into two, because especially when I'm fasting, I really like to have something to look forward to. So I have my fatty coffee, then mid-morning I have my keto BHB, and then at lunchtime I have my anti-aging drink, and then in the afternoon I have another keto BHB, and then I have a cup of tea at night or something like that. But I like to have sort of something to look forward to, helps me get through the day. So here, oh, that's a good one. Okay, Carmen, when I first started, I accidentally stumbled upon Dr. Berg's videos and followed some of what he said, but the more I heard about keto, the more info I saw. Right, exactly. So it could be someone that we saw at the very beginning, and maybe we lean a little bit more towards that person because, they were kind of who we got our start with or something. That happens quite often. I think back, oh man, when I was first starting looking, who was it that I first started hearing? It might have been Dr. Berg, but there was somebody else, like I'm gonna say like Dr. Marcola. I don't know if you guys know Dr. Marcola. He's awesome. He's not super popular in the keto space. He's more in the natural health space, and that's really where I was before I ever started keto. I natural health junkie, like from years ago. And so I would hear little snippets of things. And this was, before keto became so mainstream. And so I didn't really understand what they were talking about I understood low carb, but I didn't really understand this higher fat or whatever. So I may not have picked up on it right at the very beginning, but I'm pretty sure it was Dr. Marcola. So Sean said, started not knowing much, just basics, and in a super strict, judgy type Facebook group, found this group and learned a lot. Oh yeah. And that's really unfortunate too, when you just happen to find yourself. I know I've heard that a lot in our group, people saying that they were somewhere else, whatever, not naming any specifics, but just, and if maybe the admins aren't careful enough or the moderators aren't watching, and then there's, some negativity and judginess in there, and it really can turn a person off. I hear, sometimes I have Facebook ads out there, advertising for my business and stuff, and people will comment on their like really negative things, but it stems from what happened to them somewhere else. It has nothing to do with me. I try very hard not to take it personally. It's hard for me to not take things personally, but I know they're not talking specifically about me, but they're talking about their experience. And that's really too bad. So anyway, okay. So in case you guys are just popping in here, we're going to get started soon. We're going to be talking about doing keto your way. I've talked about this a few times, but I like to revisit topics because we have new people in the group. Sometimes people miss things, and sometimes I have a little bit more to say on the topic. So I wanted to bring this up again. But first, just in case you're new here, my name is Lita, and I just want to let you know that I am not a doctor. I love to share information that I hear from the keto experts, from natural health experts, for everything out of the space, in the space. And I just love to talk about it and discuss it with you so that you can make your own decision, because in the end, you have to do you. But I just want to bring it forth. So that's something that we can talk about. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about doing keto your way. And like we were just discussing, there is so much information out there. So whether you follow a keto doctor or a natural health, practitioner, or you're reading books, or you're on Pinterest, or maybe you're just following somebody on YouTube who has decided to, document from their start to their end, which is very interesting when people do that, I find. I never even thought of that way at the beginning. But they'll document their whole entire journey from start to finish, and they say what they're doing. They come right out and say that they're not experts, but this is what works for them, kind of thing. So there's all this information out there. And I find that especially when people are struggling, and I can't say that this wasn't ever me at any given time, struggling like, oh, I'm kind of in a stall, or things aren't going the way they were before, I'm feeling frustrated. And then you start looking around, right? You start Googling stuff and looking things up. And then now you're really starting to get confused because you're hearing all of these things. And how can they all be right? How can all of the things be right? And I'm going to talk about some contradictions that come up quite often. And it's a real problem, because you hear one person say this and one person say that, and then you're just not sure what to do. Carmen, yes, and no matter how long you keto, you always learn new things. Exactly. There's always new information out there. So all the information is out there if you choose to it. Like I said, there's two camps. There's the camp of looking and reading and listening to everything, possibly getting confused by it all. Then there's the other camp of kind of passive. I find it kind of passive, like, well, this one person said this, so that's the gospel, that's the keto law, and there's nothing I can do because that's what they said. So it can either be one or the other. But I find that the more you look and the more you read and the more you understand, it really is good. As confusing as that can be sometimes, I really encourage you to actually go out there and listen, but listen with a really open mind. Say to yourself, not every single thing I hear and not every single thing presented is necessarily going to be right for me. It might be right for that person, and it's not to say that it's not technically accurate, like medically, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for you. Let's talk about some of the contradictions that we hear about there. I'm going to give you some examples so we can have some analogies here, okay? So when you're listening out in the keto space, you'll hear very often like, okay, 75% fat, get your fat in, right? But then we'll also hear people that will say, well, you don't need to get all of your fat in, just use fat as a lever. Just use it as a lever as you need it. Okay, so is it, do I get in all the fat or do I use it as a lever? Well, it really depends. It really depends on you. So I'll say that my opinion is when you're first starting, everybody should be 75% fat, because that's the only way that you're going to get into that nice high level of fat burning. And also when you're lowering your carbs, you need something. If you just lower your carbs, you're going to be starving. So that is the main reason for the 75% fat. Now, where the question comes in is after. Do you keep on going with the 75% fat or do you lower the fat? And this is where I say what works for one doesn't always work for another. I can say for me, from all the different testing that I have done, that I do significantly better higher fat, especially if I've ever if I ever backtrack a little bit, if I kind of go off or whatever, I right away got to go high fat. And then as I'm going along and I can kind of feel how I'm going, I don't feel the need that I have to meet my fat. But if I need it that day, I will use it. And if I don't need it, it's okay. I don't need it. What I'm saying is because I've experimented for so long, I can tell what feels right for me. But if you're starting brand new, yes, you definitely want to be the 75% fat. And some people that are experienced in here might say, you know what? I find that I do a little bit better, not so much fat. And that's where experimenting comes in. And it's really, really important. And this is why I want to bring up this subject, because just taking the information verbatim and just saying, oh, well, this is the rule, this is what I have to do, you're not going to know if it works for you. There are certain rules that definitely help out when you're first starting out, but then as time goes on, you really have to experiment and see what works for you. Okay, so another contradiction that we hear a lot of time is no calorie sweeteners, or is it okay to have no calorie sweeteners? Some people have it all day long, all the time, and they love it because there's no carbs. And then hearing stuff out there about, oh, well, what is this if we have something that's sweet, even though there's no calories? Can it increase your insulin? Again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. What works for one doesn't work for another. Now, not even going to get you can get super experimental, and it's actually very interesting. If you have a blood glucose monitor, it's awesome to actually test and see. Say, for example, you get up in the morning and you test your blood glucose, and then you know what your blood sugar reading is. And then you have, say, like sweetener in your coffee. And then this is where you have to be really good with your experiments. Don't be putting in half and half, or not half and half. Heavy whipping cream is what you probably would do if you wanted dairy. Or don't put in your MCT powder, oil, or anything like that. You would have to do it just with the sweetener, right? And have that. And then 30 minutes later, test your blood sugar again. Did your insulin go up? Did your blood sugar go up? Try it in an hour. Did it go up? Right? And then you can do the same experiment, with just having black coffee. Like, you can do these experiments, but to keep it super, super easy on yourself, literally, how do you feel? because I can tell you for me, I have always been a sweet lover. I love things sweet. I always have. Back in the day, before I was ever keto, here in Canada, we have Tim Hortons, and I would go through the drive-through and I get a double or sometimes a triple. It was lots of cream and lots of sugar, sweeter the better. Hence the reason why I had a weight problem. But then when I switched over to keto, I just figured, hey, 0 calories, right? I'm going to have all these 0-calorie sweeteners. And it was fine for quite a long time until it wasn't. And all of a sudden, I started noticing every time I have a sweetener in my fatty coffee, like about an hour later, I'm actually getting hungry. Why am I getting hungry? It makes no sense. I'm having all this fat. I didn't have any carbs. I didn't even have any protein. There's no reason why I should be hungry. And that's when I heard different people saying that sweeteners could do this to your blood sugar. I did my own experiment and I used my blood glucose monitor, and sure enough, mine went up. So I tested on myself. I got the little hint by just listening to my body. Then I tested myself. I know for me that affects me. Does that mean that it affects you? No, not at all. It doesn't mean that at all. And I will tell you that I still love to have sweetener in my coffee. And if I am eating some food or having like protein or whatever, oh yeah, damn straight, I'm putting that stevia in because I still really like it. But I don't have it on its own because I know for my body that it's going to increase my insulin and it's just going to make me hungry. Probably doesn't increase it for very long. Like my guess is like maybe up to an hour, and then it probably pops back down again. According to my test, that's what it looked like. But I just didn't like that feeling of being hungry. That is what I'm trying to avoid. So I don't want that. And I don't want any little needlings of making me want to eat when really I shouldn't be eating during that time. Marty says, I love monk fruit, but it raises my glucose. Exactly. And so, and this is where you can also do experiments on yourself. So Marty, you know that about yourself. And probably, especially if you're just having it in just like a plain beverage or something like that. But let's say you have your dinner, and obviously, no matter how careful, like even if you were just eating meat, your insulin is going to go up a little bit. That is what our bodies do. So if you're wanting to have something with, your precious monk fruit in it, that would be the time to do it because you're already kind of in that zone. The time not to do it would be when you were fasting, or where you're just having like a fatty drink or something like that. You wouldn't want to have it during that time because you know that about yourself, that it raises it. So those are a couple of things. Other contradictions that we hear out there is moderate protein. Okay, so that's what we talk about in keto. It's a moderate protein or higher protein. Okay, because we hear that out there too. Especially in the last year, I've heard a lot more keto experts talking about higher protein. So where are we at with that? Well, again, you do have to listen to your body. One thing I will tell you, especially ladies, if you start noticing your hair is starting to get thinner or falling out a lot or whatever, that's usually an indication that you're not getting enough protein. That's always the number one thing that I talk about. So you may want to up your protein a little bit. As far as being in ketosis and stuff, again, that really is a personal thing, whether you're doing the moderate or the higher protein. There are tons of experts out there that will say that higher protein is totally fantastic and that your little bit of a blip is going to go right back down. Then you've got, say, Dr. Berg, for example. He's a big proponent for moderate protein. So you really have to kind of know what works for you. I know for myself, lower definitely does not work, absolutely does not work. But too high also doesn't work for me because I have experimented like every single combination you can ever imagine. I'm still experimenting with lots of things. I love trying new things, but and I'll talk about my carnivore experience in a minute. But I don't find that like really high. That doesn't work for me. So I consider myself like higher than the moderate, but not like super high. But you have to know what works for you. And really, you know what? As much as I'm not a super big fan of tracking, and I'm just saying from a personal lazy perspective, tracking is the best thing you can do. It really is, because you can look in your tracker and you can look back and you can say, you know what? When I have a little bit, more protein, I'll just say for an example, I had energy that day. I felt really good. Gee, a little movement on the scale, clothes feeling a little bit looser, whatever, or vice versa. But really, you can't really measure what you don't track. You don't really know what's happening if you're just guessing. So experimenting and tracking really, really work. Let's see, what else? Okay. So when we're fasting, here's another contradiction. 0-calorie fasting or having fat like MCT or our exogenous ketones, that one is a real debate. And there is tons of information out there. And here's the other thing. Lots of information changes. That's the other thing. You hear something from a year ago, you got it in your brain, this is the rule, this is what we have to do. A year goes by, new research, new information comes forth. Be open to the new information. So way back when I started, it was like, no. We are not going to have any fat during fasting, and we are not going to have any exogenous ketones because the body's going to burn them first before it burns your fat and blah, blah, blah. Well, I will tell you that even back there, I kind of went, you know what? I'm doing my own thing. You guys do your own thing. I don't care. I'm just having it anyway. Felt amazing. Now, so much information has come forth saying that it's not only super helpful during that time, but it's totally okay to have it during that time. I'm not saying that you have to have MCT oil or, keto BHB during your fasting time. I'm just saying that a lot of the experts are now saying, yeah, it's actually super helpful to have it during that time. Don't be scared of it. It's actually really great. Super good for our cognitive function and really helps us when we're fasting. Now, what feels good for you? Again, I can tell you that I have experimented with so many different things. I did the black coffee for the longest time, and I did not feel right. I actually would say to my husband as a joke, my brain just doesn't work as well without my MCTs. So that's, and I'm also happier. I'm a nicer person to be around. So there's the happiness factor that just, it is super important. So that's another thing that you can listen to the people out there, and you just need to experiment for yourself to see what works for you. When I'm talking about experimenting, I highly suggest that whatever it is that you're thinking of testing, unless you're not feeling very well while you're testing it, give it at least 2 weeks, because you really don't know for sure. You try something for one day and you go, the scale didn't move. Okay, that is not an experimentation. You really need to give something a couple weeks to see if things are going to change for you. So I was going to tell you quickly about my carnivore experience. So like I said, I have tested so many different things out. And when I hear the experts out there talking about stuff, I think, yeah, you know what? I want to try it. I want to try it so I can tell other people. I want to know for myself how that feels. There was no reason for me to try carnivore for, say, like a health perspective. I don't have any serious disease or anything like that, which a lot of keto experts will say is a good reason to try it. I just wanted to try it just for the sake of it. And plus, bonus, they say that you can, drop some weight pretty quickly when you're doing it. So just for me personally, it's an absolute hard no as far as a lifestyle. Absolutely no way am I going to be carnivore as a lifestyle. That's just, no offense to anybody, excuse me, that loves carnivore. Absolutely. If you love it, good for you. Happy for you. It's kind of like the liver thing. Can't do it. There's certain things that I try. And if I just can't do it, I just can't do it. I don't care how amazing it is. You know what? You got that line in the sand. If you can do it, you can do it. If you can't, you can't. I have a little swig here. So I tried it out and I did it. I know I said to you, it's good if you could try it for 2 weeks. Well, I did it for 1 week. Okay, first of all, I didn't actually notice any big whoop on the scale, anything more in inches. I didn't notice anything different than what I normally do. So that was kind of wasn't a huge incentive for me. But I just felt like I lost my will to enjoy food. Which maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point, is that we shouldn't be so excited to eat. But someone just said, what's the deal with carnivore? So Carmen, and there's so many Facebook groups out there and there's so much talk about carnivore. And like I said, I think the big deal about carnivore, first of all, it's a movement. It's kind of like the paleo people, those kind of people. It's a little bit of a movement. I'm not going to lie. So there's that aspect. Then there's the people that truly do have a serious, probably autoimmune illness or some kind of a disease, something quite serious where eating carnivore really can address that. I'm not going to talk about that here. I actually have another video where I did a deep dive in carnivore. I actually referenced a couple of books that I have and some experts and stuff, and you can look that up in guide number 7, where I have all of the replays of all the videos. Just find the one that's about carnivore. So I'm not going to get totally into that, but yeah, so there are definite reasons for it. I just wanted to see because of the gut aspect and the healing aspect, I never thought I was ever going to do it for a lifestyle, but I wanted to see if I could do it enough that, oh, you know what, like maybe once a month or something, I'll do it for a week or whatever. No, I could do like a carnivore day. I can definitely do a carnivore meal. I mean, absolutely, I could do that. But just somehow, I don't know, mentally, as soon as I put myself in that zone and I start going that way, I can't really explain it. When it comes to fasting, I get excited about it. And I guess it's because when you do something and you feel so good on that something, then when you want to do it again, like you've got those, happy thoughts and your emotions and stuff. And just the thought of doing that, like long term, it just, oh my gosh. So anyways, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to be negative about it if anybody wants to try it. I'm just saying for me, it was just not a good fit, but I tried it. I wanted to see, what all the talk was about and everything. And I do encourage you. Oh yeah. No, Carmen, no, you can't have veggies or dairy. Oh no, that's blasphemy. Oh, don't even talk about that in one of the carnivore groups. You'll be ostracized. Oh no, you definitely don't want to talk about that. Anyway, so that's just my little carnivore story. It was kind of funny. It was really funny when I was trying to do it, and it was like, gotta eat again. Oh man, I just literally lost my will for eating. But anyway, okay. So continuing on, information evolves. So another thing I want you to keep in mind too, if you are the kind of person that loves to research and see stuff out there, whatever, keep in mind, sometimes something looks like it just popped up like new information, but it's actually something old, or there is something new. So what I mean is, if you're looking I'll give YouTube as an example, look at the date. Look at the date that they made that YouTube video. Say you're following Dr. Berg or whatever. And I'm not saying that old information isn't right and isn't anything to consider. But I'm saying, like, somebody said to me like a few weeks ago, they said, oh, well, I heard, Thomas DeLauer, he said that we should only have black coffee or black, like no calories during our fasting time. And I said, oh, well, that's really interesting, because I've actually heard him say that MCTs and keto BHBs are totally fine. So go back and look at your video and tell me what the date is on the video. And he looked back and it was 2 years ago. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that as science changes and information changes, just keep that in mind, that it could be something old that you might be looking at. So if you're the kind of person that loves to look at everything out there, say to yourself, I don't have to, because I used to actually get kind of like stressed out. Don't get stressed out. Just be like, I'm seeing all this information. It's just out there, and I'm just going to process it, and I'm just going to hear what everybody has to say. And then I'm going to see, I think I might like to try that. You know what? Or no, I'm not ever going to try that. And then if you want to, do some experiments on yourself. And then I also want to talk to the people that don't want to do any research at all. And sometimes what I also see in the group is people say like, well, can I have this? Can I have that? And I'm not saying anything bad. If you want to ask a question, absolutely ask a question. But I get the feeling from some people that they're not doing any of their own research, at all. They're not even looking at food lists that we have in the group and all the resources we have in the group. And they're just asking the question because they're not out there kind of looking. And I really encourage you to look around a little bit. If you're the kind of person that gets really overwhelmed, then maybe don't look around too much. Maybe pick a couple people that you like, or a group that you feel comfortable within, and stay inside that group. But hear varying opinions. Because if you're the kind of person that doesn't do research and you ask a question and then somebody answers that question, let's face it, it is their opinion. Even if I answer a question, it's just my opinion. I'm one of many. And then you take it verbatim. Oh, this person said, so that's what I have to do. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you at all. I mean, depending on if the person is diabetic or the age of the person, is a woman in menopause is going to be feeling different than a woman who's not. And by the way, sidebar, I'm just going to go off on this for a little bit that I just found out the other day. When we're getting closer to menopause or we're in menopause, our bodies naturally raise our blood sugar, which really peed me off when I heard that. I'm not in menopause yet, but I'm turning 54 and that menopause train is coming for me. And I'm noticing some changes, a little side topic here. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that really makes me mad. No wonder I'm struggling. Like sometimes I feel like I'm really on point. Well, I think I'm on point with my eating, and yet my blood sugar will be a little bit higher. So it's like, I got to be even lower in the carbs and be, exercising at all or more in order to fight that blood sugar. That's just like a side note. I'm going to do some more research on that, and then we'll probably have a talk just on that, because I was like, damn it, that's not fair. Anyways, that was one of the things that I heard while I was out and about doing my research. Do I know for fact that that is absolutely true? For me, I don't know for sure because I haven't done enough testing, and I did only hear the one person say that. So here's an exact thing that I'm talking about is I'm going to do more research on it to say, is this actually a thing? And even if it is a thing, is it a thing for me? And if it is a thing for me, then what am I going to do to counteract that thing? So that's just, that's a perfect example. All right. So test yourself for 2 full weeks. I want to just finalize this here. Don't be passive and say, well, that keto expert said so. That's the law, because it may not be the law for you. And these are my little final things. And then I'll go back and read some of the stuff that you guys said. My bottom line, test for yourself and see what feels right for you and what works for you. Just because someone said it or did it doesn't mean that it's right for you. Happy, sustainable lifestyle. That's the other thing. We want a happy, sustainable lifestyle. So my carnivore example is, for me on that, I wasn't happy. For me on that, it wasn't a sustainable lifestyle. So I decided not to, because that didn't fit for me. In the end, you have to do you. Even if there's something where they're saying, you totally got to do this and this is the best way and whatever. If it doesn't feel right for you, it's like, I really think the happiness factor should be played in big time. Big time. Do you know how many times we've done all these crappy diets in our life and they haven't lasted? Now, I'm not saying if you want to hit it hard before a vacation and, whatever, that's totally fine if that's what you want to do. But ongoing. You've got to think what really makes you happy, what makes you sing. Like, I see the different recipes that people post in the group, and there's people that just love coming up with these great recipes and testing out these recipes, and food, it makes them happy. Now, they're not thinking of food making them happy like they're gorging and eating a ton. They're eating within their macros, but they're enjoying the process of creating these awesome foods and sharing their recipes and stuff. And so, why would that person say want to do carnivore or maybe do any kind of hardcore fasting? Because then they wouldn't get a chance to make these foods. They probably wouldn't, because it's just not going to work for them in their life. Okay, so that's my little final. You do you. I will always say you have to do you. Now I'm going to go back and read and see what you guys said, because I saw some good comments in here. And please post in here what you think. Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with this? Do you think it's better just to suck it up and do something that maybe you don't enjoy just for the sake of hopefully making some gains? Or do you think it's important to have a happiness factor? And do you also think it's important to listen to a lot and experiment on yourself and see what works for your body? Okay, got that. Okay, Dorothy, do ketone drinks do the same thing? I'm very sorry. I forget what we were talking about right in that moment. So, Dorothy, you were asking about ketone drinks. If you're still on, tell me what you mean about that, if they do the same thing. Um, Thanks, Marty. Kim, meat heavy works for me. Yes. And Kim, you know what? Kim eats pretty much carnivore. I mean, you kind of experiment in and out. And there were certain health things that you were working on, and you are working with a health practitioner. And in your life, carnivore or close to carnivore really works for you. I'm not sure if you're thinking of cycling in and out, or you're thinking more like a 5 and 2, or I'm not sure how you're doing it, but it works good for Kim. Kim has had some amazing results. Marjana says she's trying carnivore for a month. That's awesome. That's really, really good. And I will say about the carnivore, because there's two camps too, I've noticed with the carnivore, in the carnivore space, there's straight on carnivore, basically just meat. Then there's a carnivore that is like eggs and fat is okay. So depending on what if your thing is, Marjana, that you're just trying to be basically 100% carb free, like you don't want any carbs whatsoever, you still could have the fat. And well, I guess there's a little bit in eggs. So that would be your choice. It depends on what it is that what you're going for. But yeah, trying that out for a month, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Carmen, the MCT oil helps me when fasting and helps curb my hunger. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I honestly feel so much better. It's like, it really has a calming effect. I don't know if you guys notice that for yourselves. I run, generally speaking, I run pretty fast in my brain. And I find that the MCT oil, it actually helps slow me down enough that my cognitive function is better. I don't know if this makes sense to you guys, but you know how sometimes like it's like you're off on tangents, and which I do. I am always off on tangents, but do you know what I mean? Like you're all here, there, and everywhere, and you're not focusing. And I find that the MCT oil really helps me to focus better. I noticed a huge difference when I cut it out for a little bit, because I was not totally cut it out, but like in the morning, I was trying to go absolutely zero calories until dinner. That was an experiment. I absolutely did not feel the same. Let's see here. And then there's something on my screen here, and I'm scared I'm not even going to touch it, but it's blocked something, but I'm not even going to touch it because I'm so tech challenged that if I touch it, it'll probably get me off the screen. Marty says nutritional keto. Absolutely. My number one thing is, nutrition is always number one for me. It will always take precedence over weight loss. Absolutely, health over weight loss any day of the week. Cynthia, my whole life I've heard how important breakfast is, and now OMAD, I found it so great for me. Yeah, isn't that funny? And you know what? That was the science back then, or it was the cereal companies, trying to sell a cereal. But you know what? It was someone who said that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, and so these people that are now fasting realize that that's actually not accurate. Sean, sure, I'm interested in menopausal. Yeah, I'll do one just on that. I know trains heading down my path, and so I'm just hearing different things. And I know a lot about hormones when it comes to bioidentical hormones and things like that, because I've used progesterone cream for like 18 years, and so I know about that part of it. I didn't realize that there's some other things. Other things I've heard is like the adrenals change a lot, and that affects our cortisol levels, and then the whole thing with the blood sugar and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely going to do more research, and I'll probably have Debbie Brown on again, and we'll go into more of a deep dive about how our body changes when it comes to our blood sugar and stuff like that, because there are definitely things that we can do to counteract that, and I'm starting to look into that. It's very interesting. I thought that, like I try to stick to my 20, but then admittedly, I sometimes go up and I say that it's okay, but maybe where I'm at right now, going up too much and too frequently is not good because of what's going on in my life right now. Yes, Kim, Debbie Brown is amazing talk. She's awesome. Every time we have Debbie on, she's fantastic. Everybody loves Debbie, and we have such really great conversation. Oh, James, you're looking for the day one of the macro challenge. It is pinned in announcements. Go to the announcement tab, but scroll down a bit because there might be like a couple. I posted a couple after that, but it's in there because I know I pinned it this morning. Annette says, I think keeping it fresh. I know being new, I need to be a little strict so I don't allow for bad habits to start. Love trying the different recipes. About to try my long-term reboot, my 10-week mark. Yeah, exactly. You know what? When you first start, it's really good, to kind of do strict keto. And then after that, you can do some experimenting with yourself. I guess I should have started with that. If you're brand new, well, I kind of did say that. If you're brand new and sticking to your 75% fat and you just want to, do it the regular traditional keto way, absolutely at the beginning. But then after that, especially if you're noticing maybe not a lot of movement, definitely time to start experimenting and thinking like, I know there's some people that I see and they have a lot of keto desserts and things like that. And then their stalls, you know what? So experimenting on things like that, like try not having those keto desserts all the time or sweeteners or anything like that, or maybe just say once a week. Sundays I'm going to have a keto dessert or I'm going to have a sweetener in something or whatever, and try not to have it during the week. Those are experiments that you can do on yourself and just see if it works for you. Let's see. Your C8 MCT oil is still my magic elixir. Oh, thank you so much, Kim. Yeah, I love it too. And I've tried experiments where I've used just the oil, I've used just the powder. Myself personally, I love them both together. It just gives me that creamy goodness, and I just love that little bit of extra hit of fat. And that's just now I know that that's just what I like, and that's what I do. Carrie, I've been hearing a lot about a 2-week trial with CGM. Oh, you're gonna have to tell me, what is CGM? It's super informative, truly understanding your blood sugar levels. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Am I just not getting it? I don't remember what that is. Tammy, what's your opinion about ketones? Well, let me count thy ways. And I do have another video, I think, strictly on that. Of course, I'm going to say that I absolutely love it because that's my keto BHB. But mine, I will just say that mine is not just a beta hydroxybutyrate, but it's also a perfect electrolyte drink because we have 1,000 milligrams of potassium in here, and we have L-leucine, and L-leucine protects your muscles, and it also gives us energy. It's absolutely fantastic. Like, I love this drink so much. So many people in the group love it. But you're asking for my, hey, Jordy, you're asking what my opinion is. I'm not sure in what regard, but my opinion is that it's fantastic. I have it fasting. I have it not fasting. You can have it before a workout as a pre-workout drink. You can have it post-workout. It really helps with hunger. I will say that, especially when I'm fasting. I like to be a little bit preventative when I'm fasting. When I'm fasting, I don't want to feel hunger. No way. I do not want to feel hunger, because as soon as I feel that hunger, it's kind of like, ooh, it triggers me to want to eat, let's face it. And so when I have my fatty coffee in the morning, and then mid-morning I have my BHB drink, and then at noon I have my anti-aging drink, is what I like to call it, anti-aging, which is my bone broth and my collagen and my MCT powder at lunch. And yes, this is during fasting because I'm doing me. I want really nice skin, hair, and nails, and I am not giving up that drink. And that protein is really good for me, and I'm still getting in good amounts of fasting time. And yep, my blood sugar will go up a little bit and then it pops right down. So for me, I don't care that technically we don't usually have protein during our fasting time. I'm doing it my way. That's how I'm doing it. I'm not saying you have to do it that way. Absolutely not. But when I'm doing a fast where I'm not eating food for 48 hours, I'm going to still have that drink. And then in the afternoon, I have my BHB again. So yeah, I totally, Jordy, I'm a big fan of yours. She's funny. She's my daughter's friend. She's my friend too. My daughter's friend. She's cute. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what CGM is. Oh, continuous glucose monitor. Gotcha. Sorry. So I'm not diabetic, so I don't know the terms. Well, I don't know if you're not diabetic, are you saying just for the sake of, for keto, just having the continuous on? Interesting. The only thing is like, I don't know, how would you get that? I think you need a prescription, or your doctor has to get it for you. Like, I don't know if you can buy a blood glucose monitor online, like on, Amazon or whatever. I'm not totally sure about the continuous, because that to me seems a little bit more medically like, and like you have to actually stick it in your skin and everything. So I'm not really sure how that works. Maybe if there's somebody here who uses one, they could comment on that, but interesting. Let's see what else. Oh, good, Tammy. Thank you. And Tammy, if you have any other questions, tag me in the group with any of my Intentionally Bare products. I'd be happy to answer, or message me if you want to on Messenger. Sean, finding myself having tummy issues with MCT oil in drinks. All of a sudden, I'm fine with it in food, though. Is powder better option? Yes, absolutely. Your tummy issues could be a different situation because, like you said, you were fine with it before and now you're not. Things change, right? And I will say that stress really makes a huge difference in how your gut, what's happening in your gut. If for a while you kind of maybe went off keto a little bit, even that could totally throw off your gut microbiome it's called. And if that's the case, things that you were having before might be feeling a little bit kind of iffy to you. And I know what you mean, kind of like gastro kind of things. The powder is absolutely so easy to digest. It's so easy. Like I shouldn't say this here, but like infants can, like babies, it's so easy to digest. So if you're kind of feeling like that way with your tummy, definitely try the powder and skip the oil for a little bit and just see if you feel better. But I will say, as you're doing that, I don't know if you do the digestive drink that I talk about. It's in Unit 4. I've got the image right there of what I do in the morning. It's so great for the gut with the apple cider vinegar and the psyllium powder. It really keeps things moving, and the apple cider vinegar really helps. And I always recommend taking a really good probiotic. I take one every night before I go to bed on an empty stomach every single night. So maybe adding those two things in for a while, try the powder in your coffee for a while, and then maybe after like a month, try the oil again and see how you feel, because it's probably just something that has just kind of changed in your gut in the last little while. Hi, Kathy. Glad you could make it. Annette, so what's your fancy drink, Lita? Is it your BHB or something else? Oh, this one here that I'm having? Yeah, it's just my BHB. And it's literally just BHB in just plain water. I didn't even use mineral water or anything like that. Oh, or were you talking about my drink that I have, my anti-aging drink? I've been posting about that today in the group. And it's my collagen powder and my bone broth powder, the MCT powder. So those 3 powders. And then I add almond milk and a little bit of sweetener. And again, we were talking about sweetener, but I'm okay putting in a little bit of stevia flavor drops because the collagen and the bone broth already has some protein. I'm going to have a little bit of a blip up anyways. So now I'm going to have my sweetener and I'm totally fine with it. It is such a great drink, but I'm calling it my anti-aging elixir because it is so fantastic for skin, hair, nails, and gut. Let me count thy ways. I can't go without that drink now. So I don't care that if I'm fasting, that's okay. I'm still going to have it during my big long fast. I'm still having it. Anyways, oh, it looks so pretty purple. Well, yeah, actually it is purple. It's raspberry. And this is only diluted. It's maybe not even half I put in here. So it's kind of diluted. So usually it's a little bit darker there too. So anyway, you guys, as always, I talk longer than I say that I'm going to talk, but it's always so nice to see what you guys are saying and for us to have a little chit chat. And, but I should let you go so you can enjoy your evening. But thank you so much for coming out. And if there's anything that, if I missed anyone, or if there's anything else that you want to talk about, post it in the group and tag me. Please tag me. It's always good if you can tag me. I try so hard to keep up with everything, but sometimes I miss it. And if you tag me, then it's definite. Like I'm sure I will see it. Sean said, awesome, thanks. I was off for a couple of weeks, tried to restart up and fats, get back on track, but the MCT oil has been kicking my butt. Exactly. You know what? So I find like, even if someone says, oh, you know what? I was a little bit under the weather. And then after that, or they went off on their keto, and then I went right back to where I was before. And they're like, something's not sitting right. Your digestion has just changed. It'll come back. Don't even worry about that. But if the oil is a bit too much right now, just skip it for now. Do some of the things that I talked about. Get your gut health back up again. And then I bet you'll go back on the oil and you'll have no problem whatsoever. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. It was really nice chatting with you. I hope you guys have a really nice evening. Okay, I'll talk to you in the group. Bye. Hey guys, Before you go, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification so you can be notified every time we have a new video posted. Also, down in the description, I will have links to everything that we talked about in our chat today, including information on how you can join my Intentionally Bare Keto support group. See you next time.